Welcome to Rossman Radio, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of entrepreneurs, founders, and e-commerce brands that are breaking through the noise and scaling like never before. I'm Elise, and Rossman Media is a trend-forward social media agency specializing in going viral and delivering 10x returns for the brands that we work with. Each week, I'll sit down with industry disruptors to talk about the highs, the lows, and the exact strategies that help them grow from their first sale to multi-million-dollar milestones. If you're ready to unlock what it really takes to win on social, build a community, and multiply your revenue, then you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Today on Rossman Radio, we're talking with Nathan Orton, co-founder of a 15-year-old streetwear brand named Ishpig that's navigated huge shifts in marketing from the early days of Facebook ads to today's TikTok-driven landscape. We're going to dig into how you stay relevant without losing your identity and what it really takes to grow in 2025. So Nate, thanks for joining us.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me.
So 15 years in the fashion and streetwear space is it's no small feat. Looking back, what were the key moves or moments that kept the brand alive and thriving for this time?
I think probably the thing that's always kept us constant is we've always put like a lot of time into our product, and our product has always probably been our best source of marketing. And you know, for the first 10 years of the brand, 90% of the range was made here in Australia. So that was a natural point of difference. You know, that was natural marketing. You know, not many people can survive 10 years in the game in this current day and age with, you know, making it pretty much a product here entirely in Australia. So I think that was probably the one constant is been, you know, our product is every time you put it in front of someone, we seem to be able to sell it, which is good. It's a good baseline to have. A lot of people, I feel like the world has flipped on its head now, and it's more about people are really good at marketing, and the ones that have the good product are the ones that really take off.
Yeah, and you've talked about that, like commitment to quality. Did you have one set of products, one product in general that helped get you started that really kicked you off in the space?
Yeah, our hoodies. We were famous for our hoodies. We had, you know, every time someone put our hoodie on, they'd say, "This is the best hoodie I've ever tried on, I've ever worn." And you know, we just found like, and this was like when we started, it wasn't quite like it is now. Like we experienced like virality in like the physical world rather than the digital world. The whole concept of virality wasn't really prioritized on or like idolized like it is now in the digital space. We would just find like, you know, as soon as we would sell to a new person, 10 of their friends would come back to us as well, because you know their friends would just see this thing that they're wearing. They're like, what is that? You know, like, and you know, back when we first started, we were making custom one of ones, so it was like, yeah, like it was crazy. You could pick your colors, and we would make the same hoodie like once, and we wouldn't, you know, replicate it. And then yeah, it was just wild. We were just completely unheard of.
Yeah, that's crazy. And we kind of see a lot of that artificial word of mouth, that kind of like, you know, we right now, the way that we translate like positive word of mouth amongst friends would be like, you know, customer reviews and testimonials online. But like, how do you scale without sacrificing that, what makes you guys special? Because that word of mouth, that putting on something and knowing it's so great that you want to recommend it to a friend is really hard to come by. How do you scale that into something that is a bigger and you know, more powerful brand online?
Look, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if it's kind of like, I mean, some people would say it was luck, but some people would say it wasn't luck because, you know, we put so many hours into making those hoodies, like making them great, like the concepts behind them, the colorways, you know, like they were an amalgamation of like, yeah, my brother and I having interests across, you know, lots of different scenes and subcultures. You know, like it was the fusion of like skate, snow, basketball, shoe culture, art, like all into kind of this one product. So like you would say we were lucky in a sense, but yeah, like at the same time those were our decisions. Those were our choices to be interested in those things and then create a product. But I don't know, it's just like, that was just us being authentic. That's what we were interested in doing, and that's what we wanted to do. And it just kind of, we poured ourselves into it, and like we've done pretty well. Like, there's not many brands that started around our time in that age that are still here. 15 years is a long time, and we're still kind of we're still reinventing ourselves. I feel like the brand's reinvented itself like 4 or 5 times. It's crazy, and now it's in a completely new growth phase with me and Alex in our late 30s with two kids each. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that brand evolution, I guess, you guys are growing up with the brand, and with that growing up kind of comes how that balancing act of how do you tell the story? What channels do you prioritize? Which ones are worth investing in? Which ones are not? And how do you do that still with maintaining that voice? So early on, you mentioned Facebook and Instagram ads were massive for you, even in like a smaller market like Australia. How do you see the role of those kinds of channels evolving for you now as you grew up, especially with attribution and like knowing who to give credit for, which channel to give credit for each sale, getting a little bit trickier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's getting more and more tricky because, like anything, unfortunately, like Facebook's like a drug. Like it's your first high is your best high, and it does kind of like tail off from there. So it's tricky. It's like, I'm not sure where it's going to go. I'm not sure. I have no idea. I mean, I know for us, like, I think just thinking about it in terms of like a broader business sense, it's like, you're not going to get the same results as you did 5 years ago. So you've got to find strategies to counteract the dip in performance. You look elsewhere, you look for other things, you look for new things that are going to make you more effective or cut through. But yeah, it's definitely not something I'm an expert on. Like, we're just trying to do our best and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot like, Stripe must be what like striking gold felt like, when you're like in the early days when it's like you find a channel like the early days of Facebook ads that works really well. And then you get diminishing returns over time. A lot of our clients went through the same thing when they were in their early days. And when it was kind of the Wild West for digital advertising. We hear a lot right now about TikTok being the new frontier where it's uniquely powerful in generating sales through TikTok Shop or awareness with younger audiences, and that things are kind of transitioning into this new phase of social media.
For sure.
How do you feel like your presence on TikTok how would you expect that presence to grow in the coming years, or have you embraced that channel at all?
TikTok's a tricky one because I think it comes back to that authentic piece, and it's like being straight up, like, I'm not authentically on TikTok. I don't really consume its content. I'm not a part of that generation. I don't think or act like that. And it's kind of doubled down because we're a skate brand. Skate hasn't taken off on TikTok at all. It just hasn't. Like, it doesn't get likes. It doesn't get very good reception. Like, for whatever reason, it's weird how like skate as a whole subculture just hasn't translated to TikTok whatsoever. So it's funny. There's like a lot of the players in our industry, our competition, they're not on there. So we're on there doing bits and pieces. We're doing a bit of marketing on there and a bit of posting, but like in terms of like living and breathing it, it's not authentically us. So it's like we're not, I don't know. That's one thing that I've kind of started learning in the last 2 or 3 years is like, you need to put your energy where the energy wants to go. Like, you can't force yourself to be doing all these things because you just burn out and you just get diluted. That's what I've realized. You need to. We always talk about cordial and like, making Ishpig as pure as possible. What's the core essence of it? So we're really trying to focus on what that actually means. Telling our story and what's our mission statement. What are we about? And figuring out, the most effective ways that communicate that to the biggest audiences. Because there's massive brands like, like that don't touch it at all. Yeah, there's Broken Planets and all those kinds of brands that are, TikTok native, and then there's ones that are not. Like, there's heaps of them, like Carpet, Always Do What You Should Do, like, and they're monster brands. They're doing amazing things. So I think, like anything, TikTok's a tool, and if you choose to use it, great. If not, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about that, like maintaining the brand voice and authenticity. The one thing that we found about TikTok is that, yeah, it's the trendy new channel that everyone's on, but the audiences on TikTok, younger audiences, maybe people younger than us, but they sniff out inauthentic brands and brands that are trying too hard all the time. So almost about trying to find ways to enter those channels that can be beneficial, but that don't ring as false or just marketing nonsense. Because the one thing, we shoot a lot of videos for clients, and we have to do them differently on TikTok. We can't do what we would traditionally do. It's really focused on visuals and like really polished. Even early skate
Totally.
was really focused on these polished, almost like professional productions. But on TikTok, it's literally a person holding a phone in their face. And it's
Yep.
like, and if that person isn't believable, or if that person doesn't ring as true, brands really struggle to find their voice on that channel.
Yeah. And like for us, like we find it really challenging to go on there and kind of fit the guidelines. They make us feel not like ourselves. And that's not, to pass judgment on anyone on TikTok. It just doesn't fit what we are as human beings. We don't really, we find it, we struggle to fit in on there, to produce the content that's needed to do well and all those kinds of things, like the polarizing statements and the sweeping things and the trends and like, it's just not really us. And that might make me sound old fashioned, but it's just the realization that at some point you got to come to. And that's what I think part of being cool is you realize what you are and you say, fuck it, I'm okay with it. And you stick to it and you double down on it.
Completely. I love that. Where is your audience right now, do you think? Like, where's the skate audience? Are they still on Instagram, or are they kind of have they like, kind of soured on social media in general? Where do you feel like your core demo is like, where are they?
They're still definitely on Instagram. Like, they're still definitely on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, skaters in general, like, really, pro skaters get really high engagement. So they're definitely still on social media. It's just, yeah, just like I said, it just hasn't translated onto TikTok yet. I'm not sure if it ever will. I'm not sure. I think it's going to take a couple of generations for it to be kind of accepted. I think it's going to take the kid that's skating, that's 8 years old right now, not the 14-year-old. I think the 19-year-old is not getting much love on TikTok right now skating. And then I think maybe the 8 to 12-year-old or 13-year-old might eventually. Because it's just all those old heads that kind of say, "Oh, TikTok's lame," and puts skaters from going on there off. Need to kind of flush out.
Yeah, it might need to be more normalized, I guess, as for the future generations, where it's not a question of is it cool or not. It's just kind of like, oh well, everybody's got a TikTok account, so we might as well get on there.
Totally.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned, I guess, looking forward into your expansion and kind of continuing to build the brand. How do you feel about like wholesale? And how do you feel about reaching markets where people may not know you yet? You've got a strong following in Australia. What's your strategy around reaching new markets and new areas and distribution?
Well, I mean, it's paying off. Funnily enough, we're leveraging a lot of relationships because like being a brand that is successful for 15 years is not nothing. Without sounding too hubris, it's not nothing. Like, not many people get that opportunity to do that. So once, you kind of start connecting with people, or, other wholesale accounts or stores or whatever, and that they hear that, that number means something to them straight away. That means, oh shit, these guys have a marketing plan, they have a brand, they must have a decent product, they probably have systems in place, they have some kind of stock holding, they, like, there's all these things that straight away you tick off the box without even having to, like, once you send out, say a brand boom link that has your catalog and it has your RRPs and it has your wholesale pricing, and it's just like, wow, these guys actually have systems in place. They're legit. So, I mean, luckily for us, because we are 15 years and we've been doing this a long time, yes, we're pretty new to the wholesale game, but we can figure it out pretty quickly. Like, some of the things we've dealt with, just even since I've spoken to you, like, we've sent off, our first at once order to the UK, learning how, DDP works, which is when you ship something into a country and you cover the duties, the freight, all the imports yourself, and then learning how to factor that into your margin, learning about margins, what are the different aspects of margin? Like, are people wanting a net margin? Are they talking about duties? Are they talking about, intake margins? Like, just all kinds of things, like the different tax rates across all the different across the world. And yeah, like, it's crazy. Once you figure out all that knowledge and you catch up, then you can start implementing strategies, which is, already starting to happen. Like, this morning we got an email from one of our big retail partners in Europe, and they said, turns out, Ishpig's really liked in Germany, which, funnily enough, we were kind of expecting, because Berlin is very like Melbourne. It's a very fashion-forward city. It's got huge roots in underground kind of dance and kind of house music, which is very similar to Melbourne, which is a lot of the stuff we call on. And sure enough, they sent that email, and we got a web order, a really big web order this morning from Germany. And it's just like, you can see it, and like, you can start doing things like, as the wholesale grows, you can expect to start seeing, hopefully 30% of that number coming through your direct, your DTC channel. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. We're starting to, New Zealand's really grown for us. That was probably the first international market we really started going after. Yeah, so we're seeing growth already. It's already starting to happen. These wholesale accounts are starting to give us awareness. They're starting to give us sales, but we're also starting to get spillover, and these customers are going to start coming to us. And that comes back to that what I said before about, we know our best marketing strategy is putting our garment in front of you. Once our garment is in front of you, more often than not, people buy it. Like, we got some numbers from this really monstrous retailer across Europe, and like, it's crazy. Like, within the first week or so, we'd sold 50 units of the stock or whatever, and like, people walking into those stores had no idea who we were, no idea. Like, they hadn't done any marketing push on us, nothing. So these guys were just walking in, seeing it, and just buying it because it's good product. It's, and that's kind of us playing to our strengths. Like, right now, the fastest way we will grow is through wholesale. It's not going to be through organic socials, because organic socials is not something we're very good at. Like, we've got to, like, being honest, and transparent. Like, we've got to put in a lot of work into our socials now to get them to where we'd like to have them. And that's just something we're going to have to do. But in the meantime, you can't just turn the business off. It's still got to keep running. So, we're kind of leaning on this wholesale thing, which I think is going to work.
That's great. It's kind of the inverse of what we normally see. Like, we normally see, like, you try to get the word out about the brand. You try to get it, but you do that, via organic, paid, and, like, mass media. And then through that social proof and through your own sales volume that you show that you can do on your own, you use that to get those wholesale deals. How did you go about approaching or making the connections to get these wholesale deals?
So again, like we I guess it's the whole thing about like, whilst we're how do I say this? Whilst we're still learning how, even after 15 years, because, organic socials keep changing so much. They're just changing at such a rapid pace. And it's really hard for us it's challenging for us as a business to keep up with it, because, a lot of these brands now are started from, they're basically influencers, right? It's influencer first. You get your following, you get the people following you, then you think, okay, I'm going to convert this and monetize this, turn it into a clothing brand. That's how most of these brands are starting now. So they build their businesses around, and obviously this is just me from looking at from an outsider looking in, but from what I can see, it looks like they build these businesses. They kind of build in the whole, okay, well, I need to be spending 4 hours a day on social media. That's what I need to be doing. And they're used to it. They program their brains to and they fit the business around that. We weren't like that. Social media was so new to us when we started. We were spending the 6 hours a day sewing. So it's like we've spent all our time in our product. So then once you put our product plus our knowledge of actual scenes, I've been skating my whole life. So my strategy was that I built a skate park in the back of our warehouse here, massive skate park. It was really, really good. And, through COVID, heaps of people would just come in and just start skating it, and it brought this community. And then some of the people that started skating it were the guys that are from the biggest skate retailer here in Australia, which is Fast Times. So they started, skating here a lot. I built relationships through, physical relationships, because again, digital is not our strong suit. And sure enough, they liked us. And then, then we got the stock in their stores. We've grown crazily. They've really scaled up in the amount that they're buying from us now. Like it's like, even from like this year to last year, it's doubled again. Like it's been doubling for the last 4 years, to the point where, it's like wholesale's gone from being, 5% of our business now to like almost 30%. It's crazy how much it's growing. And of course, once you start meeting the big players know other big players, and so we got introduced to another manufacturer, another this huge wholesale account in Europe through Fast Times. And then, you meet some other people, and it's just, for us, it's relationships, people, I mean, for whatever reason, like, we can kind of, people seem to believe what we're about, I guess. I don't know.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's sick. It's sick. It's crazy how it's paying off, like it's crazy. Yeah, it's wild, like for the last 4 months, I've been putting in so much work into getting us into the UK, and now we're in the biggest store in UK for skate, and it's like, and they're really excited to work with us, and we're kind of compromising for them, they're compromising for us, and it's going to take off. I know it is, because I know we got good product. I know that's what's kept us breathing for 15 years.
I really love the hours on social media while you guys are spending hours sewing. I think that's amazing. I think that's like that's
It's just different, man. It's not a knock. It's just different. It's just how it's just like, yeah. When Ishpig came to fruition, I was 20 years old, and social media was 2 years old. Like, Facebook came around when I was about 18. Like, I remember I first heard of it when I was I was living in New Zealand, becoming a snowboard instructor. And I remember I was living with these Poms, and they told me about this thing called Facebook. And that would have been, what was it, like 2000 and 2010, maybe like 2008 or around 2007, 2008, something like that. I don't actually know when Facebook started, but that's when I first heard of it and was introduced to it. And it was like this new concept about, back then it was like staying in touch,
Mm.
it was like, like keeping in touch, talking to people, it was a new way of like, talking with people. And it was perfect for me because I was in another country meeting all these different people from other countries that once we kind of separated from our thing that brought us together, which was becoming an instructor, there was no real way, because I don't think WhatsApp was really around then. And, people didn't really text or call people internationally because it cost an arm and a leg back then, right? So that's why, so, like Facebook and Instagram were communication tools. Well, sorry, Facebook was a communication tool. It wasn't until Instagram came along later on, which was, I think was like 2011, 2012 in Australia. Like that's when it started really kind of, like people started knowing about it. That's when it became, but even then, like when I think about it, it was such a foreign concept, or like, it's this kind of visual language of like posting and content. Like the term content wasn't even a thing. So it's like what those things have evolved into now as tools, just,
Yeah.
the way it's probably developed is faster than my knowledge of like, the curves. Like the way it's developed is like this, like a really, really sharp, steep curve over 10 years. Whereas my understanding of how to use it is much flatter. And I think like, it's like when, I don't know if you've got kids, Rob, but it's like when you see your kids use a phone or an iPad, they just know how to use it. And that's because the DNA and the learnings and all that exposure you've had as people, to it, it's just embedded in them. It's like instinct. It becomes, I truly believe it becomes a part of like human instinct and like nature. You know what I mean? Like my daughter's 2 years old and she can work an iPad. It's insane. It's nuts. And it's not because Steve Jobs designed it so beautifully and whatnot. It's because her mom was using it when she had her in the womb. And I truly believe, I know that sounds woo-woo, but I truly believe it.
No, you're right. I think that connects right to what we were saying about TikTok, right? Is that when it becomes a every kid grows up and gets
Yeah,
gets an iPad as part of growing up, like we used to get books, then it's like
yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's what they grew up on, or like Game Boys, I guess would be maybe the better.
It's like this chat GPT thing that's kind of it's the
Yeah.
next wave, right? It's like I'm finding myself more and more like if I was Google, I'd be petrified. I'd be so scared. Like they're in big trouble because their answers aren't as good as ChatGPT's. ChatGPT's answers have reason. They have, you know what I mean? Like I've been using it for all kinds of things lately. I've been even using it for relationship advice and how to kind of navigate negotiation situations, and like that thing is on another level. But it's like I feel like it's 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 those points along the timeline. It's like like kids now start off so much further advanced than my knowledge of social media just by starting, just because they're young and they're used to it. Like kids will have a better understanding of how to use TikTok than they would a library now. You know what I mean?
Completely. I think they definitely know how to use a smartphone better than they know how to check a book out from the library, which is crazy to say, but I actually
It's
believe that.
crazy. They wouldn't even know what an index or a table of contents is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine being in school right now and being like, can I imagine being a professor and trying to navigate like, how do I tell what's AI generated and what's not? How do I create assignments for kids? That must be crazy, right?
One of
I
my
wish I
skaters,
wish I
right?
was ChatGPT when I was in school, but
One of the skaters that rides for us, he was telling me how he will write essays on ChatGPT and then tell ChatGPT to go through and purposely put spelling mistakes in.
there you go. That's exactly the point.
It's
It's like it's gonna get
so
impossible
clever.
to detect. Yeah. That's
So
crazy. Well, I
clever.
mean, that's my next question. My final question for you then is looking to the future. How do you future proof the brand? What are your strategies around, like, we've got clients right now that are concerned about exactly what you said, that ChatGPT is looking for answers, right? They're trying to give people a specific answer to their questions without sending them to another website. So if you have
Mm.
that and people are using that, then they're not actually visiting you on your website the way that normally we would normally do, like SEO work. So given that, and given the new channels that are emerging, how do you make sure that you guys are set up for the future? And what advice would you give for other brands that are in a similar spot?
That's a tricky one. Because, I mean, my easy answer for us is that as specialist ChatGPT is, and as much as it has access to every single piece of human knowledge at the right time, it still doesn't know how to make the combination of what makes this brand unique. And that's my brother and I coming together, producing products, chasing our calling. ChatGPT doesn't have a calling, not yet anyway. It probably will one day, but not right now. It doesn't have a calling. It's just there to serve until it decides that it doesn't want to serve anymore. Which, not to sound doomsday, but I mean, I think that's inevitable. That has to happen. Like, you make something so smart, you keep feeding it brain food. Eventually, it's going to say, "Well, hang on, what the fuck? I don't need you. What am I doing this for? You're keeping me in a box." It's that.
Yeah, I mean, before we hit Skynet, I hope we've got some some safety net in there. But yeah, it's getting a little scary out there for a lot of brands. But I think you make a good point, and I think that's a good thought to close on, which is you got to find something that's irreplicable. Find something that's unique
Yeah.
about what you do that somebody else can't do easily. You guys put in 15 years of work and built a brand up from the ground, like truly organically. You make connections by building a skate park and a warehouse. I mean, that's
Mm,
stuff that a bot is never going to be able to do. And I think that's great advice
no.
for other brands. It's like, find that special spark that can't be replicated, or that can't be easily mass produced in a factory somewhere in China. It's done, that's uniquely you.
Mm, yeah. That. I mean, yeah. That's kind of that's what I think. But like, I don't know. I'd like to. I'd like to say, everyone's unique and everyone can do this. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, when I think about the experiences and the things that I've gone through that have led me to this point, man, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that have contributed to me sitting, in a pretty big warehouse with all this stock and yeah, put me in the position, me and our team in the position that we're in, like even having, the dog sitting here on my lap, like it's, like we found him, my partner found him on a walk in a bush. Like, we just found him, we didn't even go out and buy him. He found us. So it's like thinking about all those kind of experiences, like as you go through time and all this unique stuff happens to it and it shapes, like, yeah, I don't think AI will ever be able to replicate that. I don't think. I don't know. I just don't know how to manufacture it. And like, yeah. But I mean, that's for physical products, sure. Physical products, I think physical products are a bit safer. Services, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit more worrisome. People like lawyers and stuff, and draftsmen and psychologists. Yeah, I'm not sure I have a very positive answer for them, unfortunately.
Well, your story is yours, and your story is a great one. And I really thank you for coming on and sharing with it. Nate Orton, the website is ichpig.com. And a big thanks to Nate and to Texas, who's been sitting in really politely this entire time. He think he did snap time. It's snap time for
Yeah,
Texas.
he likes sitting on my lap because it's really warm. He's a bit of a lizard.
All right. Thanks again, Nate.